Yo, shout out to a sponsor of this channel, NOBLEGOLD Investments, an awesome American-based business that helps you invest your money into precious metals like gold and silver. They can help you invest your retirement money into it, getting you more in the long run than stocks would, or you can invest in physical metals like their rare coins or their sweet collectible commemorative Donald Trump coin. Check the link in the description down below. There'll be a phone number there. You can call them up, or you can grab one of their free ebooks. This is Jordan Sather reporting live from the Human Farm here on Tuesday, April 30th. Hope you guys enjoyed the last couple videos I put out. I released one last night talking about latest Q, FISA D-class, and attacks on Q researchers and whatnot. And then I went live this morning. That was fun. I need to do more of those live streams. I went live talking about vaccines and pondering why I think Donald Trump acted as such when the mainstream media pressed him on the measles outbreaks and vaccinations. I think there's a lot that people might be missing with that story. Anyway, if you want to watch either of those videos, cards will be up there. As for this one, what I want to do is go through about 4 or 5 articles, give you the headlines, give you my quick 2 cents on each of them, rapid fire like, and then I want to take some time talking about vaccines. Still a lot of important stuff to discuss there. I actually found a mainstream media outlet use a tweet of mine in an attack article against anti-vaxxers yesterday. I want to show you that. I also want to show you Merck's Q1 profits they announced. A lot of not so surprising, eye-opening dots to connect there. Then I want to take a moment to talk about UFOs as well, okay? There is a lot of backstory that the mainstream media is not telling you. A lot of half-truths, a lot of missing context in these, quote, government UFO disclosure articles that are just flying around these days. So we're going to get it all straight there. So let's get into it. Begin with these articles. We're going to start here with Guantanamo Bay prisoner commander fired over loss of confidence in his ability to command. Surprising news. His name was Navy Rear Admiral, John Ring, relieved of duty last weekend after a loss of confidence in his ability. Now, he was to be replaced as part of a scheduled rotation in less than 2 months, but there was an investigation that began about a month or so ago. It began in March into John Ring here, and they basically wanted him out of there sooner for something. Don't know what it was, but I mean, I would want somebody I would trust as head of Gitmo if we're to get some high-profile names there soon. So surprising news here, but I mean, it's good if they found some sort of dirt on him and wanted him out of there. Next article, The Economist. Now, remember, The Economist is part owned by the Rothschilds. So remember that when you read anything from them, ever. And they're saying here that the political economy suggests, whatever a political economy is, political economy suggests that geoengineering is likely to be used. And they're using the climate change angle to sell it. A lot of fear with that climate change angle that they sell stuff with. Geoengineering here be their target. And this has basically been the mainstream media, and not just the mainstream media, but the mainstream establishment sciences narrative for the last few months. It really originated out of Harvard with some of those IPCC, mainstream science authorities on climate change. They have really been pushing for geoengineering to be enacted in the mainstream for quite a while now, a few months. And what they're doing here is trying to normalize the whole thing. Because, I mean, shoot, the main point is that haven't aerosols been sprayed in the atmosphere or stratosphere for years now? Just look up. You can see them everywhere. So these things have been going on, and people are waking up to that. So in the media, they're normalizing this issue. Make people think, oh, these things are brand new when they start to realize them, and then also make people want them. Make them think it's being done for a benevolent reason to fight climate change and protect us, when it's really not. That's a load of fake news and fake science, if I've ever heard it. So there's that. More geoengineering sales to us. Next article, out of the Cosmos. Mainstream science, new physics required. Universe expanding faster than predicted. I'm seeing a lot of articles like this. New physics required. A lot of them are talking about quantum mechanics, or basically positing that we need to redesign physics in some way, shape, or form because of a new, quote, breakthrough. Some of them have been about the universe and cosmology, some of them about metamaterials, or even some of the articles on the UFO phenomenon, And what I foresee, what I think might happen, is that they're going to couple these UFO disclosures or something in that realm with a physics or scientific disclosure. Could be a room temperature superconductor, some sort of metamaterial, maybe, levitation and electromagnetism have been broken through and we can create anti-gravity now, right? It's going to be something that they've had in the black projects for decades and decades, but they're rolling it out to the public now with some sort of brand new breakthrough to sell it, and then couple that with some sort of UFO disclosure, and that's where they're going to try to capitalize on these things. Maybe make a corporate buck and partial disclosure, half-assed disclosure at all the public. Anyway, we'll see what might happen in that regard. Be careful for a lot of these new science, new physics disclosures that might not actually be all that new. Next story, Bayer board in emergency meeting after investors rebuke CEO. So investors, shareholders are not happy with the Bayer CEO, especially after this Monsanto deal. They spent billions and billions of bucks buying big ag Monsanto. And investors are not happy. They're not happy because of all these lawsuits that Monsanto is losing. They're losing all these lawsuits. They have thousands and thousands of more lawsuits yet to be decided. And they're not happy. They're not happy with this Bayer CEO and this deal he did. So, I mean, we could probably add his name to the CEO resignation list, right? But the funny thing about this is that this isn't a CEO that resigned willfully or stepped down. This is a guy that was forced out of there. So this is good news. Public opinion is a massive help. That's really the way we're going to take down all of these corrupt control systems, is informing the public. They do not want, the deep state does not want an informed, awake citizenry. But that's what we need. That's the only way we're literally going to survive all this going on. So let's make that happen. And last story, then we'll get into vaccines. Microsoft excludes Minecraft's creator from anniversary event over his comments and opinions. So the Microsoft creator, his name is Marcus, better known as Notch, okay? They are basically washing him out of everything having to do with Minecraft. He's not being invited to this anniversary event. Microsoft also removed a few references to him that sometimes popped up on the game's main screen. Microsoft didn't say why. They tried to do it really quietly. So Notch is being forced out of anything related to Minecraft by Microsoft over, quote, comments and opinions. And what that really means is because the dude talks about QAnon. He talks about these sort of hardcore truth. He has the courage to do that, and he is doing that. So that's why they're quietly kind of scrubbing him out of there. Poor Notch. Man, we stand with you, brother. We stand with you. Keep speaking your truth. And screw them. Screw them. You already made your money anyway, right? Just keep telling it, man. Keep telling it like it is. Appreciate you. So now let's get into vaccines. So I saw this article out of the NPR, right? Let's get into the backstory of all this. This is pretty interesting. So the NPR ran an article on the Brady Bunch and their episode about vaccines and measles. I mean, this came out back in the early 70s, right? 1969 episode of Brady Bunch. And the reason why NPR did an article about this is because this has been going around the, we'll call it truthing community. I don't like to call it anti-vaxxer because that's the pejorative that they're trying to label people that question vaccines and search for truth, right? So this idea has been floating around the truthing community, the vaccine research truth community, about the Brady Bunch, because they had this episode that came out back in 1969 where they were talking about measles, and it was a totally episode that was showing how benign measles was. And in the episode, they specifically said, no, we're not going to get vaccinated. We're just going to get the measles because it's benign and easy to get and all this stuff. So a lot of vaccine truthers, they point to this as showing how benign it used to be treated back in the 70s and 80s before all the vaccine hysteria, before all of the mainstream propaganda utilizing that sensationalized fear to, of course, sell the information, sell the vaccines. So NPR ran this discrediting article on it. And they actually talked to Marsha. Her name is actually Maureen McCormick, but she played Marsha back on the Brady Bunch. And she said that she was furious. She was really concerned because she wanted to get to the bottom of it because she was never contacted. Well, it's a meme. It's a meme that gets shared around. There's millions of memes of people, famous people that get shared around all the time. and they're not going to get caught. So, I mean, I don't know what she was expecting here. And then she says she thinks it's really wrong. As a mother, my daughter was vaccinated. So apparently she was mad. And they utilized her to run this article where they were talking about Dr. Tony Bark, talking about Del Bigtree, trying to attack those individuals, spread misinformation about just all of this and them in general. And I've seen both of these people speak in person. Saw Dr. Tony Bark and Del Bigtree both speak at a rally here in Washington State when one of the rallies was held for the state bill going through to try to remove exemptions. Incredible information those two give. And watching them speak in person, experiencing them, I mean, it just makes these articles look absolutely ridiculous because they are. So experience always wins over this sort of second, third-hand journalistic nonsense that gets written up. And then Yahoo News ran their own rendition of this Brady Bunch article. You know, they all get their talking points, get spread around in the news wires, and you see the same damn article ran on 40 different stations the same day. Yahoo News put out their version of it, and in their version, they went really hard in the propaganda category. They were trying to claim that anti-vax activists are utilizing fear to spread the misinformation. Like, this is just bad. And then they also get into linking my tweet. This is the tweet I was talking about. Ha! Yahoo News. Look how many comments are on this. 4,000. Like, oh, good stuff. Any day is a great day when you find the mainstream media trying to attack you. It's great stuff. So there's that. And speaking of utilizing fear to sell propaganda, they completely project. Bunch of narcissists write these freaking articles. They freaking project and say that anti-vaxxers are the ones that utilize the fear to spread their claims, spread their propaganda, but it's completely them. Like, look at this article that came out of Wired the other day. It says, meet the pro-vaxxers helping to stave off the next pandemic. Pandemic, utilizing that pandemic angle. How about the, oh, you're going to get sick and die angle? I mean, that's the same rhetoric we always hear coming from pro-vaxxers, coming from this mainstream media, from mainstream science, the establishment BS. You're going to get sick and die. You don't want your kid to get sick and die. What about all the other kids out there that could get sick and die? What about the pandemic? Pandemic is an angle that I'm seeing them use. Saw this article in the Metro, came out today. Global pandemic may pose bigger risk to civilization than climate change, warns Apocalypse Report. There's that climate change again. A lot of fear with that. But look, global pandemic, more fear, bigger risk, must protect. And they don't try to sell vaccines necessarily in this article, but damn, they are hitting that pandemic angle really hard. And of course, articles like this sell the vaccine part of it with that pandemic. So it's all clockwork. Like, it's all so obvious when you study propaganda techniques, mind control techniques. Study what the Nazis were doing back in World War II with repetition, with create a lie so big that people can't not believe it, basically. Study their techniques. Exact same thing mainstream media is doing now. So that's what I have in terms of vaccines. Also, one last thing, let's take a look at Merck's profits. Don't want to miss that. So Reuters reporting today, Merck raises full year forecast as vaccines power profit beat. Color me shocked. Let's look at the primary statements in this. Merck reported higher than expected first quarter profit on Tuesday on increased demand for vaccines. Who would have freaking thunk? Gardasil, a vaccine for preventing, of course they claim, HPV, powered much of the earnings beat. Gardasil has been shown to be one of the most toxic and dangerous vaccines. Also want to point out down here, sales of the company's MMR and chickenpox vaccines rose 27% to $500 million. Of course, helped by government tenders. In Europe, U.S. demand, of course, holy crap, how much hysteria has there been about measles? Measles cases in the U.S. have hit their highest levels. Merck is the sole provider of the MMR vaccine. And like we've been saying, where are those actual measles cases? They say 705, but there's CDC links out there, statistics on the CDC website itself that don't state that many. Plus, do you actually know anybody with measles? You? I don't. What about you? Do you know anybody that knows anybody with measles? Or do you know anybody that knows anybody that knows anybody that knows anybody? You get my point here. Where the heck are all these measles cases? I want an actual, like, proof. Like, put a person out in front of a camera. I want some RBG proof here. Like, where are the measles cases? I don't know, man. These measles cases are just as fleeting as Ruth Bader Ginsburg is. Jeez. So look at these dots. MMR sales being driven through the roof. Merck is the sole provider of the MMR vaccine. Merck making a bunch of money. Huh. Incredible. Incredible. It's actually really sick stuff. They literally just want money. And they don't care if they poison us and make us stupid and sick with their vaccines. They just want money and power and control, make us docile and dumb and apathetic. I got to stop talking about this. Okay, moving on into UFOs. So we went through a lot of good stuff on vaccines. They're very eye-opening information. Let's get into unidentified flying objects, or let's call them UAPs, as the mainstream media and the intelligence community is trying to rebrand them. Unidentified aerial phenomena, or UFOs, or a craft, one of ours, one of theirs, who knows. Let's get into this. So The Atlantic put out this article 2 days ago, just don't call them UFOs. And they're reporting on the Navy redesigning their UFO reporting system. And what's incredible, Politico originally reporting on this a few days ago, is that, again, all the mainstream outlets, they get their news wires, and this one, they are wringing dry. So all of these articles didn't just come out one day, and then they try to get that narrative into the collective consciousness. They're spreading this out. This is very tactical, strategic, how they're doing this. They're spreading this out for maximum effect over the course of days, almost a week now. You know, every day, another few articles. I even saw like NBC, a couple of them just reposted the articles, trying to like, hey, read our bullshit, read our bullshit. So The Atlantic here is, again, reporting on the Navy, redesigning their UFO reporting system, but then also discussing this tic-tac shaped video, the AATIP, to the stars, TTSA, whole disclosure initiative. I don't even know what to call it. I've been calling this a million different things. You know, the Deep State's UFO limited hangout disclosure, the To the Stars Academy half-assed disclosure initiative. And that's exactly what all of these articles are. They're just all sales pitches for this. They insert their gatekeepers, the To the Stars Academy, Christopher Mellon, who's a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence in the Clinton and Bush administrations. He's a guy associated with To the Stars Academy. That's Tom DeLonge's initiative. You know, the WikiLeaks emails, you had Tom DeLonge emailing with John Podesta, emailing with an Air Force general, with a few other guys. A lot of stuff I've yet to do my whiteboard video on with that. But all of these articles that are coming out, really ever since December 2017, whenever we get a round of mainstream UFO articles like this, they're all selling the AATIP, Advanced Aerospace or Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. There's like a few different names they've been calling that, but it's the whole To the Stars initiative. Here's another one in the Drive that just came out. They say what the hell is going on with UFOs and the Department of Defense. And another long article showing a bunch of these videos from the To the Stars Academy. There you go. And then there's Christopher Mellon right there. And we've got an article that's really pressing the boundaries here. They're saying the technology is real. These UFOs, quote, could be ours. Ideal test conditions when the Nimics caught that video. And then, you know, could it be ours? Talking about the black budget in here even. They're only saying tens of billions of dollars, not really going into the hundreds of billions or trillions of what it really is. But they're talking about highly advanced technologies. Huh. And I mean, they could go a lot deeper with this article. But it's pretty impressive, the envelope that they're pushing with all of this. So it's really, it's a limited hangout that is pushing the boundaries. I'm excited that all of these UFO articles are getting people talking about it. But again, they're inserting their gatekeepers. They're giving us hardly any secret space program, technological truce. Like I mentioned here with the black budget, they're giving us only a little fraction of what it really is. They're not even mentioning any corporate contractor names. You know, they're keeping a lot out of this. And then look at the individuals behind it. You have Senator Harry Reid, John Podesta, Like I mentioned, you have some Air Force generals and some other individuals involved. And with To the Stars, you have a bunch of guys from the CIA, ex-intelligence guys. Like, what's their cover? Who'd they work for in the past? What's their actual history? You know, it's this huge, again, it's almost a false flag disclosure initiative. Not a false flag in that there's a lot of real stuff they're talking about, but there's a lot of stuff that's almost made up, and they're almost feigning legitimacy with this, okay? So like I said, I'll be doing more videos on this to really give you the nitty gritty of who's involved and going through the data stream with this. But one last thing on this To the Stars partial disclosure initiative. So yesterday, this exclusive came out of George Knapp. George Knapp, who is an investigative reporter. He does a lot of reporting on the UFO phenomenon out of Nevada. And he's basically the go-to UFO journalist with a lot of these To the Stars Academy partial disclosures. And he said that there was a document that they obtained, they put out, and this document shows, it confirms the Pentagon did release the UFO videos, okay? Now, George Knapp has been breaking a lot of these for a couple of years now, so my guess is that he has some sort of inside connection. Might be Harry Reid. He's been talking to Harry Reid, interviewing him quite a bit about all this. So, I don't know. They're going to him for some reason or another. Maybe it's because he's just seeing money. He just wants the fame. Maybe, you know, who knows? I think a lot of these individuals who are getting swooped up by the TTSA and this ATIP, they think it's a grand benevolent thing that's very good. I think they're all just unfortunately getting swept up by it, whether they just don't know any better, they aren't seeing the big picture, or they're just seeing money and fame out of this. They think they're going to be the ones to break the story and tell all their friends and family in the world about this. I don't know, but we really need to be more level-headed, a lot of us, with these To the Stars Academy UFO disclosures. So let's actually take a look at this document that, quote, confirms Pentagon did release UFO videos. This is it right here. And it's called a clearance request for public release of Department of Defense information. Now, does it confirm that the Pentagon did release the UFO videos? Now, there's a couple of things that are interesting about this, all right? They redacted the name. Now, in my opinion, the person that signed this clearance request for public release of DoD information was probably Lou Elizondo. Lou Elizondo is the guy that's been really heading up all of these TTSA. He's an individual on their team, right? So it's probably him, but they blacked out the name. And look at this, presentation publication data. This is the reason they gave the DoD to release this video. Now, mind you, this isn't an actual declassification request. It's just a clearance request that a civilian or a military individual can put in with the DoD because they're trying to get some sort of video or information for whatever the purpose. This is what the purpose is stated in this application, presentation publication data. It says not applicable, not for publication. So whoever filled this out is saying they're going to use these videos not for publication, research and analysis only, and info sharing with other industry partners for purposes of developing a database to identify, analyze, and ultimately defeat UAS threats. A couple of things about this. This whole To the Stars utilize these UFO videos for much more than research and analysis only. Like, they're basically trying to sell a whole investment initiative with all of this. Like, I don't think that's true. Plus, whoever filled this form out defined it as UAS threats, and UAS is much different in military terminology than UAP or UFOs. UAS technically refers to unmanned aerial systems, basically drones. But what they're selling these videos as is unidentified aerial phenomena or unidentified flying objects. So in this application, he didn't state it as unidentified or anything exotic in nature. So it's as if whoever filled this out fabricated it in a way, or framed it in a way, you know, not fabricating anything, but framed it in a way that this wouldn't be used for anything, or wasn't even a UFO or UAP in it, right? So that's one weird thing about this document. Another weird thing, recommendation of submitting office agency clearances requested by Section 7 here, no agency official department signed it right here at all. So this whole document could have been rushed through at the very last minute. It's not even talking about UFOs. Right here, again, subject area, UAV, unmanned aerial vehicles, balloons, other UAS. So none of this has to do with UFOs, UAPs. It's kind of a sell, like they're feigning legitimacy. This is what it looks like to me. They're totally feigning legitimacy with this To the Stars Academy disclosure. It's not really coming from the Pentagon, and it didn't go through the normal declassification processes. Here's an article from The Wired. Now, I know it's The Wired, but they ran a good article that came out about a year ago discussing some of these issues with the process by which these videos were made public. And, you know, they're talking about Lou Elizondo, To the Stars Academy, giving some background to it. But they talked to an individual down here. Let me find it. They talked to Nate Jones, and he's actually the director of the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act project at the National Security Archives. So this is a guy that knows the declass process. And he said a classified video would have likely had a marking, at least at the beginning or end, even after it was okayed for public consumption. Someone at the Times or at To the Stars, someone somewhere could have cut the introductory and closing seconds from the video, but why would they do that when both groups were emphasizing the direct from DoD legitimacy of the videos? Like right here, exclusive. I-Team confirms Pentagon did release UFO videos. Well, there's no watermarkings or anything on the videos, and they would want to leave that there, right? They wouldn't cut it out if there were. Plus, it looks very strongly like these weren't released through any proper DoD declassification channels that I had ever seen, says Jones. I've seen a lot of DoD declassification in response to FOIA, in response to mandatory declassification review, and in response to proactive disclosure, and it doesn't look like this. So basically, this was never actually classified, these videos, and however it got out, it really looks like some backdoor stuff. And Chris Mellon, the guy that's being featured in all of these latest UFO disclosure articles about To the Stars Initiative and this program, ATIP, and these videos, he said, "Hey, George," an article written to George Knapp here in response to the release of this document. Chris Mellon says, "Hi, George. I'm delighted to see that you're engaged as usual, trying to ensure the facts get out on the topics of UFOs." Yeah, hashtag facts matter, right? "Your efforts have helped transform, blah, blah, blah." And then he goes, this is what I like down here. "We only took this initiative, however, after several approaches to senior DoD officials close to General Mattis. The efforts failed." So with these To the Stars Academy videos that they released through the New York Times, this got Congress curious about it, and they were able to secure some meetings. But when they tried to get close to General Mattis and the higher-ups at the DoD, the efforts failed. They weren't even given a second look, right? And this is an incredible part of it. This kind of shows you that this whole UFO disclosure initiative, it's not coming from the top levels of the Pentagon. And in fact, it's this like backdoor, these guys that are just trying to build up through the media. Like it literally says right here, "When those efforts failed, however, we realized the best way to influence the Department of Defense was indirectly through the press and the Congress." So this isn't coming from the top levels of the DoD. They're doing this through the back door for their own reasoning, whether it's a corporate investment initiative or this huge limited hangout distraction. I mean, when you see Harry Reid and John Podesta involved, you know that they want a distraction away from some crimes. And I mean, whatever reason, there's multiple reasons you could look at that it's helping them, that they're doing this with. But when you look at the actual Department of Defense, the highest levels of the military, this isn't the UFO disclosure they're going for. They're going for the Space Force. They're doing it through QAnon, the Trump administration. What's incredible that I'm seeing or not seeing is that in all of these mainstream media articles referencing the secret UFO program, UFO disclosure, all this space stuff, there's not one mention of the Space Force. Not one. There should be. There damn well should be. That's a massive piece of the puzzle right there. Oh my gosh. QAnon, well, of course, mainstream media is not going to report on QAnon, but QAnon, as a sidestep here, has been letting us know about the ET UFO space program phenomena. Oh my gosh. QAnon, Trump administration, that's official disclosure right there. And the Space Force, what could we learn through the Space Force? Why is the Air Force so opposed to the Space Force and the Space Development Agency? Do they not want their partial disclosure ruined here? Do they not want some of their toys slipped out of their hands. The military gaining access to some of these secret space programs, UFO programs. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at, and that's what I'm going to report a lot more on coming up very soon. The Space Force. The Space Force is totally wrecking the deep state's partial disclosure over here. So all these articles I'm seeing come out in the mainstream media about this to the stars thing, this ATIP thing, I think it's going to be totally overtaken by what we're going to find out from the Space Force and disclosures that could coincide with that in the very near future, maybe just a couple of years to come. So that's a lot of what I have for you here. Boom. Moab dropped on video here. Lots of information, lots of info on vaccines we went through, and the UFO phenomenon, and a whole lot more. So thank you guys for watching this here. Appreciate all of your support. I'll be back very soon. You know I will. Thank you so much. I'm out.